Some of my favorite elements when I am considering a still life is I like to make sure I have a variety of texture in there. So I love that soft kind of matte finish again of the wood, which we've talked about. And the wall is almost, I mean, it's not important. I've got different, you can see I've got different shapes in the background of the wall in order to give it some interest, because it's such a flat green color that without those different shapes of my brush strokes, that wall is going to be really, really boring and suck the life out of it. And then, so I'm looking at then what other shapes do I want? I had like 4 other vases that I pulled for this demo to see what the shapes look like. I love how simple the lily shape kind of is. And with all of the different, with the berries and the twigs and different greenery in there, I have kind of a variety of shape, but it's all kind of an elongated, with a soft tip shape that I've kind of got in there. So the berries give that little bit of change, the teeny tiny roundness to those, juxtaposed with the giant. I'm doing, sorry, I skipped a shape, but I also meant texture. Let me go through texture, then I'll go back to shape. So different textures. So I wanted that porcelain, that soft reflection of that light through there, but also that shadow down in there and that softness through there. And then the sharpness of each of those leaves and the shape, and then that softness but waxiness of that petal there. So I put all that together then with the shape of the star that elongated the round. Then I noticed that if I had kind of a more of a curvy vase that kind of had just some difference in there, it felt a little bit too, there was too much curve to the whole setup for my liking. And it might be fine for your liking, but for my liking, I wanted a little bit of a modern edge to it with all of these kind of older like feel and softness and kind of a nostalgic setup. So that's why I chose the more modern straight vase to go with the rest of this setup. So you might find yourself gravitating more towards, and I'm probably speaking to all professionals, so I apologize for any group that I'm not hitting, but you probably have an idea of what you already like. If you like all curvy shapes, consider throwing in some straight shapes for your viewer, kind of something that gives a little more interest. Or if you tend to like a more modern setup, kind of consider having more curves in the setup that you're putting together. So kind of be intentional about those things. Part of what we're going to be going through with the mentorship is we're going to go through the elements of putting together that composition, any composition, but also what you like and what you gravitate towards, and if you want to put a message out through your still life, how to reinforce that message, what elements go different places, and how to kind of refine that so that you can kind of pull the viewer's eye through and hopefully have something for everybody in there and a little bit of interest. I mean, obviously you can't appeal to everybody all at the same time, but there are different things that you can do that will make it more universally appealing and also communicate what it is you want to communicate at the same time. So we'll go through all of the steps of what I go through to ensure the best success for each of my paintings, each of my still lives. So we'll go through that. And stay tuned. If you, I don't know if you guys follow Sentient I'm most active on Instagram. And Sentient's pretty active on there as well. I'll be doing a few more little still lifes this season so that you can kind of see more of that. I'll just be doing a few of those on Instagram, and you'll be able to find them on Liz Harris Art. That's my handle. Liz Harris art. It is a painting of my daughter with blonde hair. That's my avatar. So, and then those will also be, we'll be collaborating on Sentient Academy. That's their handle. Sentient, all one word, Sentient Academy. So if you want to just tune in and see some more of those develop, I'll have those on there as well for you to see. So you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm really now starting to look for, I'm still softening because I like soft shapes, but I'm starting to look more and more for sharp edges and where do those sharp edges need to be to delineate where does the flower come by the side of the vase, what petals need more sharpness and the sides, you know, to delineate from the petals and the leaves. And so this is kind of like you could stop here and just pop in more of the anatomy of the, you know, some of that reddish orange color of the flowers and the berries. But I'm just kind of making sure I've got some of that pulling through so you have a little more of that drama of the light. Have I covered, are there any other questions that you guys have on the, that you want me to get to? Otherwise I can keep narrating, but I just want to make sure if anyone has any questions that they get those answered.
It's like so far you've answered all of them.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. Good. So, okay. So one of the things, my paintings have a lot of soft edges in them, no matter what I'm painting. I think this is probably a reaction to doing so many hard edges for so many years in my abstract work. I think that's part of it. The other part is that I need to wear glasses for any detail work. And so I tend to have a rule for when I can put those glasses on. Because if I have them on right from the beginning and I see all of the sharp edges, I do have a tendency to play around too much with sharp edges. So if you have beautifully perfect vision, one of the things that I would recommend to you is to make sure that you're squinting. Now, I know you've heard squinting a lot. People say squint and compare all the time. But I want you to squint and really notice what edges remain sharp for you and make sure that those are the edges that you really emphasize. Now, if your style is sharp edges everywhere, you can fully disregard that if you like that you have sharp edges everywhere. Just disregard it. That's part of your style. But if you have sharp edges everywhere and you don't like how it looks, or you feel like I paint this, but it just looks too flat or too 2D, like it looks too illustrative for your liking, edges are one of the big places that you want to revisit and take a look at. Having all sharp edges is not realistic. Our eyes biologically are wired to notice one area with a sharp edge, usually at a time, and then it blurs everything else out. And so if you are painting all sharp edges, that will make it look more photographic, poster-like, illustrative, which are art expressions in their own right. So if that's what you want to do, carry on. But if that has been one of your problems, that you're thinking this just looks too illustrative, that is one of the fixes. There are several others, but that's one of them. It's going to be your edges. So really pay attention to them. So squint down. If you're looking at that photo reference and you squint down and you notice what are the edges that are really popping out to me, those are the ones that need to stay. And a lot of times I will always choose a focal point, as probably you should as well. So if I chose that focal point of those two flowers kind of kind of those petals kissing, the one on the floor and then the one on the counter and then the one in the main area. And so you notice that's where I have my highlight on my vase. I have my sharpest edges around those petals and around that side of the vase, because that's the little area that I really want everybody staring at. And one of the devices that I use in order to force that, but also force it look 3D, is that's where I'm going to have all my sharpness. And then I'm going to blend out around the rest of the floral.